Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our bond referendum virtual information forum. My name is Dr. Al Lewis, and since July 1st, I've had the privilege of serving as Glassboro's Superintendent of Schools, and I'll be your moderator for tonight's virtual session. All of us here at Glassboro Public School District have one goal for our students, and that's to make sure they have the best educational opportunities and environment possible. To meet these needs, we must continue providing a safe and supportive learning environment, and our buildings need improvement in order to meet our mission. Tonight, you're going to hear about our proposal for improvements that would make positive impacts at all 4 of our school buildings and our other 2 office buildings. Keep following our website and our social media for updates on the referendum. Our goal is to provide you, up until our vote, to provide you with accurate information about our projects, their projected impact, and our financing strategy. We have a great panel here with us tonight who will talk about the referendum and answer any questions that you might have so that you'll have all the information you need to make an informed vote. Please allow me to introduce them. First, we have Mr. Michael Sloan, who is our school business administrator. As our district's chief financial officer and financial manager, he's going to tell us more about our district's finances and the benefits of using a referendum to complete larger facility projects. We also have with us Mr. Craig Stephenson, the district's assistant superintendent, and he's here to give us information about the security projects in the bond. We also have Rodgers School's principal, Mrs. Melanie Sweeney. She'll be here tonight to talk about the preschool expansion and improvements at the J. Harvey Rodgers School. And finally, we're joined by our professional consultants who are working on the referendum. George Duthie from FVHD Architects has helped us plan the referendum projects. This firm understands the unique needs of our school districts and school districts in New Jersey because it has completed thousands of projects for schools since the early 1950s. And George Duthie has been a faithful partner to Glassboro School District for many, many years, and we thank you for that, George. Our financial advisor, Tracey from Phoenix Advisors, is joining us, and she's going to discuss details of the tax impact. And last but not least, we have our district bond counsel, Jeffrey Winitsky from Parker McKay, who will go through the proposal and the ballot question. After the presentation portion of this evening, we will open the floor for questions from the community. There are 2 ways for you to ask questions. You could send them in an email to vote@gpsd.us, or you can use the chat feature right here on Zoom. To use that, simply click on the chat icon at the bottom of your screen and type your question into the box that appears. Please note that we may group similar questions together in the interest of time. Now let's get started. Our district serves roughly 2,000 students across 4 schools in grades pre-K through 12. And we have just shy of 400 staff members. Our school buildings are aging, and they're in need of certain projects to keep them safe, clean, and in good financial and operational status for our community. This is part of our vision for the future of Glassboro, one where our schools meet the modern needs of our students and prepare us for what comes next. We have many goals, including raising student achievement and serving our entire pre-K universe, and we believe that the district is poised for a renaissance. Part of that renaissance hinges on the bond referendum and the projects that are contained within it. Now, Mr. Sloan will talk about how our budget works and why a bond referendum is a strategy that districts use to complete these large-scale improvements. Mike?
First, I would like to thank Dr. Lewis for his thoughtful remarks on why we're here tonight. He's already spoken to many of the priorities that drive this referendum, and they capture what's at stake for our students, our schools, and our community. The main goals of the referendum are safety and security and improved and expanded facilities. There's nothing flashy in this referendum. It's just the essentials, and our architect, George, will go into the details of the projects here in a few minutes. So why do we need a referendum to accomplish these goals? Voter approval allows us to fund these projects, addressing critical needs right away. So we're going to get a lump sum up front and be able to start these projects as soon as we get the approval from the voters. It also lets us spread out these payments over time. And perhaps most importantly, it secures state aid that is only available through a referendum. And these are dollars that we could not access through our regular operating budget. We want you to know that the district has a proven track record of fiscal responsibility, managing projects within our budget and delivering results with minimal tax impacts. Some examples of these projects include the new media center at the high school as well as the redesigned culinary arts room at the high school, and the mercury floor remediation that was done at the J. Harvey Rodgers schools, prioritizing student health and safety. We also work to bring partnerships about to the district. Recently, the borough stepped up with the support of $500,000, $500,000 to help support additional improvements across the district that we were able to pull out of the referendum and are now able to fund, with the help of the borough. These projects primarily include some of the safety doors that you're going to hear about, and also a new safety fence at the Bullock School. One of the central pieces of this referendum is a 9-classroom addition at the Rodgers School. Expanding preschool is one of the best investments we can make. Currently, we serve about half of the preschool aged children in our community, and the addition at Rodgers would allow us to serve more than 90% of that population, dramatically expanding access to early learning and help meeting the goal of serving as close as we can to a full 100% of those students. We talk about an addition at Rodgers, and one of the questions that frequently comes up is the sale of the intermediate school. So a couple things to think about here are that this was an extremely costly building to maintain that needed significant improvements. And also, possibly more importantly, it did not meet the Department of Education's requirements for preschool classrooms. So had we attempted to take that building and transform it into a building that could function with preschool, not only would we be looking at costly renovations to maintain it in its current state for its current use, but even more millions of dollars on top of that to transform it into a space that would be appropriate for preschool. So the bottom line is that this referendum is about positioning Glassboro to meet today's needs and tomorrow's opportunities in safe, modern, and equitable facilities for all students in the district.
Well, thank you, Mike. Before I introduce our next speaker, I did want to mention some pieces of information that we've heard back from the community about general questions that they have to do kind of with the entire bond itself. One of those is a potential merger with the Pittman School District. And for anyone listening tonight, I can tell you unequivocally, as I said at our in-person meeting, that there are no plans to merge with Pittman. Neither parties have shown any type of formal planning or informal conversations or interest in that. We have done feasibility studies in the past. The tax impact for that in general is very complicated for both communities. So there are not any plans currently or any being discussed in the future for a merger with the Pittman School District. Likewise, there's also been rumors, of course, that Rowan is going to buy our school district, take it over, or sell us buildings, build us buildings, buy our buildings, and some kind of variation of that. I can tell you that there are no conversations right now with Rowan University, anything to do with the construction, selling, or purchase of any real estate, land, school buildings, or otherwise. We do talk to Rowan all the time. We have regular meetings about our academic programs, and we're excited about the future of our academic partnership with Rowan. But I can 100% guarantee you that there is nothing going on between the borough and the district and the university in terms of building, deconstructing, selling, purchasing any type of building or land. That being said, now please welcome Mr. Jeff Winitsky, the district's bond counsel, who is here to tell us more about how a referendum works. Jeff?
Thank you, Dr. Lewis. As was mentioned by both Mike and Dr. Lewis in their introductory remarks, a referendum is really a way for the school district to provide a long-term repayment and to access and to receive state aid from the state of New Jersey, which helps offset the amount of debt that is required to repay the bonds. Now, why, right? At the end, how does that work? Why do we do it this way? To the extent that the school district decided to fund these capital costs without a bond referendum, it would have to do so at a budget, right? And you can imagine how much that might cost to do in any fiscal year. These projects, as you see, estimated total costs are, close to $25 million. It would simply be impractical or impossible to do so in any given fiscal year. It's just that the cost burden just isn't there. It's too high, and the school district isn't permitted in any event to raise taxes that much in any given year, even if they wanted to. So what do we do instead? So the school district goes out and asks the voters, can we issue bonds, meaning borrow money, to fund these capital projects? And to do so, bonds are sold, the proceeds are then provided to the school district, and the repayment of those bonds is instead of in a single fiscal year, in this case, it's 20 years. So you spread the cost or the amortization over 20 years with a fixed interest rate over time. And the benefit, as you see in the slide in front of you, is if you go through a voter referendum that is approved, the state will agree to provide debt service aid. In this case, based on our current estimates for total project costs and interest rates, debt service aid would cover about $4.7 million of the project. That's just money that is not available in any other scenario other than through a referendum. So what happens is the referendum question is provided to the voters. In fact, it's out there already, both on the school district's website, on this presentation, and otherwise. There are 3 separate questions for the voters. The way that it works, when you vote, not if you vote, when you vote, you can vote for question 1 and 2, question 1 and 3, or question 1, 2, and 3. So at the end of the day, if you don't vote for question 1, you can't get to question 2 or 3. We hope, the school district, of course, hopes that you vote for all 3, but that's how it works procedurally. So the state aid, you might ask, how does that get to the school district, and is it really just an end around for the taxpayers to fund up that amount that comes back in state aid? The answer is that is not correct. So the state has established this particular program that provides state aids not only to Glassboro, but to every school district in the state. There is a larger fund that was created about 25 years ago or so that essentially amalgamates taxes from all over the state that are then redeployed per project for voter approved referendums. This would be one of them. So it is, pennies at the end of the day in any given taxpayer's payments to the state, for taxes, and then it is deployed all over the state. In this case, would also go to Glassboro Board of Education. At the end of the day, if the referendum question is approved, the idea hopefully is that whatever the total estimated costs are within the question, and in fact, all of those projects were submitted to the state. The state reviewed them very carefully and provided what is called a final eligible cost letter, which essentially says, we see what you're doing. We agree with the amounts that you intend to spend for those. And ultimately, that is the basis for which you get state aid. In this case, it's about 40% of the approved eligible costs. So George and others spent a lot of time working carefully through each of the individual improvements to make sure that they were worthy, and the state was a final check of all of those to say that they are eligible for state aid. So essentially, if you want to think about this in sort of more simplistic terms, what the referendum is and what it ultimately does is, imagine if you're looking to do some big improvements to your home, you'd go out to get a home equity loan or a HELOC. Instead of sort of paying right out of pocket, you're going to do so over a term of years. And the kicker here, unlike your HELOC, which we all wish we had, is the state is going to offer debt service support to cover some of the final repayment, which is great. And like I said before, it's not available in any other context unless you go through a voter approved referendum, of which this is one. I think that's it for me. I'll turn it over to you, Dr. Lewis.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate that. Now I'd like to introduce Ms. Sherry Tracey, our district's financial advisor. She's going to explain the tax impact of all 3 questions.
Good evening, everyone. As was explained, total cost of the projects of the 3 questions is just about $24.5 million. And when we take into account, again, the debt service aid that both Mr. Sloan and Mr. Winitsky mentioned, the $4.7 million that's been approved from the state, only available as debt service aid, only eligible to be received when you issue debt. So coinciding with the bond issuance, that 4.7 million, we look at that with the total 24.5 million of projects. We have it broken down again into those three questions that you'll see on the ballot. The projects, the tax impact, the factors that go into it, the total amount of the projects, that debt service aid factor. These were based, as was mentioned, on a 20-year amortization of that debt. So the bonds would then be issued and repaid annually over a 20-year period. We've utilized a conservative 4% interest rate for the 20-year debt. That's slightly conservative in today's market. Definitely lower than mortgage rates, but being a tax exempt entity, the district gets the benefit of being able to issue tax exempt debt. So that is right around 4% in today's market. So put all those factors together and we come up with what is this going to cost to the average home. The average assessment for a home in Glassboro is $192,572. Again, this is a home assessment, so this is not market value. This is not what you would sell your house for. This is the assessment. This is what the taxes are based on, and it is lower than market value. So for question one, which is just over $13 million of total projects, the tax impact would be about $8 per month. If question 1 and 2 were successful, it would be about $16 per month on that average home assessed at $192,572. And if questions 1 and 3, so you have the $8 from question 1, question 3 is about $1 per month. So question 1 and 3 together would be about $9 per month. If all 3 questions were successful, question 1, 2, and 3, that would be $17 a month on the average home. Also important to note, when we issue the bonds, they will be sold with a call provision, meaning that they could be refinanced in the future. So that is a provision that the district would put into place, meaning that in the future, if rates were to move lower than 4%, or as time moves on, a 20-year bond, 10 years into the repayment, then now becomes a 10-year bond, it could be refinanced at a lower interest rate, potentially saving the district additional money going forward. So I wanted to mention that because that's an important component that would be included and is something the district has taken advantage of in the past with prior issuances. That kind of goes through what you're going to see on the ballot is the question 1, question 2, and question 3. So again, in order for 2 or 3 to be successful, question 1 would need to be successful, and again, could be paired 1 and 2, 1 and 3, or 1, 2, and 3. Dr. Lewis, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Sherry. Now let's dive into some of the more in-depth details of our proposed projects. As I said earlier, Mr. Duthie has been the district's architect for a number of years, and he understands the historical trends and the needs of our district very well. Mr. Duthie, could you please tell us about the much-needed building improvements that will appear on the ballot questions?
Sure, I'd be happy to, Dr. Lewis. Thank you. So as we were talking about earlier, 3 questions. 3 questions will appear on the ballot. Question number 1, the high priority projects, and question 1 must pass before either question 2 or 3 can pass. So let me tell you a little bit about what's in question number 1 at the high school. Roofing, okay, repair and restoration of roof areas at the high school. Those roofs are beyond their useful life. They do require replacement. There are some areas of roofing that could possibly be restored, but again, that's to provide a 20 to 30-year warranty on those new roofs. And we had done some roofing projects in the last referendum. To be clear, these are other roof areas, okay? Restoration of rear bus canopy area, you may recall, in the last referendum, we did a restoration of the front canopy of Glassboro High School. This is to do a very similar treatment on the back area where the bus drop-off is located. We're going to be replacing HVAC equipment over the science wing and some other HVAC equipment that also was not done. You may recall in the last referendum, quite a bit of work was done to the high school, but there were still some areas where equipment had remaining life. This equipment is now beyond useful life and is being replaced as part of this referendum. So essentially, that is the work at the high school. As you may all recall, again, there was quite a bit of work done last time at Bullock School and also at the elementary schools, all of them. We're going to install an enhanced security entrance system with a man trap. Okay, the feature there, and Mr. Stephenson will tell you a little bit more about that later on, is that it provides the ability to screen a person before they enter the building. Okay, and really actually even to not permit people into the building if they're just dropping things off. So having that man trap is a great enhancement for those schools. Repair and refurbishment of the metal roof at Bullock School, just to extend its useful life. The classroom HVAC units, all of the classroom HVAC units, about 40 of them or so, are going to be replaced at Bullock Elementary School to enhance the HVAC systems there. And also that equipment way beyond useful life as well. And we're going to build an addition at Bullock School with some flexible classroom space. This is going to relieve some of the pressure that is being felt at Bullock right now with enrollments, and is going to provide some spaces that can be customized more to programs and also serve as ability to relieve some of that enrollment pressure that's being felt right now. At Rodgers School, as we talked about earlier, we're going to do that man trap vestibule. We're going to also do roof replacement. Again, extremely deteriorated roofing area that was not covered in a previous referendum. There is some underground piping that needs to be addressed. We're going to go ahead and replace that underground drainage piping. And that project was eligible for state support. So being able to replace that piping and get the state to pay for part of it is obviously a great benefit. At Bow School, we're going to do that man trap entranceway. We're going to be repairing the roof and the walls above the gym area at Bow Middle School. We're going to be doing a refurbishment of the metal roofing system, and we're going to do a renovation in the gym. The flooring, bleachers, scoreboard, wall padding, a complete refurbishment of the equipment and the area of the gymnasium, which needs it. And of course, take care of those leaks as well. And at the beach administration building, again, replacement of the roofing. Okay, that system is way beyond its useful life. Question number 2 are long-term facility upgrades as well. At the high school, you may recall there's glass areas throughout the hallways at the high school. We're going to replace that glass with either metal panels or security glazing or security film to enhance security in the high school. We're going to refinish the auditorium stage, flooring, and the front of the auditorium. We're going to do some sound and acoustical improvements in the auditorium as well, particularly with some of the noise from the HVAC system. We're going to do some work to improve the acoustics at the stage at the high school. At Bullock School, we're going to upgrade the building-wide public address and clock system. That system has been, although it's been kept in repair, it is beyond, again, its useful life. It's becoming more and more difficult to keep in good operational order, so we are going to be replacing that system. At Rodgers School, we are going to install new local PA systems in the gyms and the cafeterias. This will allow for safety announcements to be made over the noise and din in the gym and cafeteria. We're going to construct a new driveway along Dickinson Road. This is to improve the drop-off and pickup times and some of the congestion on the road. And we're going to provide some additional parking spaces as well along Dickinson. And then finally, of course, we're going to construct that 9-classroom preschool addition at Rodgers School as part of question number 2. And then finally, in the transportation operations building, we're going to do some exterior door replacements, door frames, hardware, exterior glazing, security glazing, and access controls of a building that really is critical to the proper operation of the school district. A lot goes on in the transportation operations building and a critical operations center for the district. Question number 3, some improvements to the high school. We're going to remove and replace selected exterior doors, again, just to improve security. We're going to construct a permanent structure adjacent to the football field, which will provide accessible bathrooms. We will also be making drainage improvements improvements to the multi-purpose fields, okay? Not the football field, but the multi-purpose fields behind the school. We're going to be making drainage improvements there. So those are the questions in a nutshell in your referendum, questions 1, 2, and 3. Thank you.
Thank you so much, George, for that comprehensive overview. Now that we've heard about the projects, and speaking of J. Harvey Rodgers School, we're going to have Principal Melanie Sweeney share a little bit more about how the preschool expansion that George described, including the addition of 9 extra pre-K rooms, would benefit students and the community as a whole. Mrs. Sweeney?
Good evening. Thank you for having me. I just want to start off by saying that at the J. Harvey Rodgers School, character education truly is the heart of everything that we do. We take great pride in teaching our youngest learners how to grow and be respectful and responsible adults. As a result, we were one of only 71 national schools of character in the entire country. And I do think that this is a reflection of our commitment to both building both academic and personal excellence. But our impact does go beyond just character education. Rodgers also contributes significantly to the broader Glassboro community. We were actually named as the first demonstration site in New Jersey for highly inclusive practices within our preschool program and remain only one of 3 demonstration sites statewide. Just to give you an idea of what highly inclusive practices means, that just means that all children, regardless of their ability, their background, or learning style, learn, play, and grow together in the same classroom. For me, it's not just about placing children with disabilities alongside their typically developing peers, but it's creating a classroom community where every child feels valued, supported, and able to succeed. Our preschool program also achieved a 4-star rating through Grow New Jersey Kids, which makes us only one of 6 programs in Gloucester County with this distinction. So to build on our strong foundation that we've already created, we really need more space to expand our preschool program. Currently, we're only able to serve fewer than half of Glassboro's 3- and 4-year-old children. We are about 48%. With the expansion, we could grow our capacity to reach over 90% of eligible children, ensuring that nearly almost every family in Glassboro who wants a high-quality preschool experience can actually access one. We have explored different community partnerships with organizations like the Gloucester County YMCA and Glassboro Child Development Center, but unfortunately, neither one has been able to meet our specific needs because of the facility restrictions that we have. So at present, we also have 1 additional preschool classroom at the Head Start program in Glassboro, but space remains a major limitation for us. Partnering with other centers is challenging, like I just stated, because all students, first and foremost, must be Glassboro residents that are in the classroom. And every classroom must meet strict state requirements for both square footage and bathroom locations. So this referendum would allow us a 9 addition classroom to the Rodgers School. It would allow us not only to expand access for more Glassboro families, but also maintain our current state-funded preschool program, since we are required to meet specific enrollment and facility standards. The state does want us to continue to make our way up to at least 90%. And for the last 3 years, we've been, although we have increased our percentage by closing some of our self-contained classrooms and adding preschool classrooms, we're still at about 48%. This project also includes a new driveway along Dickinson Road and expand our parking, which would definitely help ease the traffic congestion during drop-off and pickup. It is important for, I think, the community to know that the funding for the teacher salaries, the paraprofessional salaries, the classroom furniture, and instructional supplies in the preschool program comes entirely from state funding, not from local taxpayers. So the only cost incurred relates to services for special education students, which is already services that we're currently providing. So in other words, expanding our preschool program would not bring more state dollars into Glassboro, while strengthening our community's educational foundation without adding new local tax burdens. So Dr. Lewis, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Melanie. Super proud of the J. Harvey Rodgers School and its national School of Character status. Congratulations to all. Let's hear from our Assistant Superintendent, Craig Stephenson, who can give us an overview of the security projects and how they would enhance our practices that are already in place. Craig?
Thank you, Dr. Lewis, and good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'd like to take a few minutes to talk about one of the most important topics in our district, and that's safety and security. Safety has always been and continues to be the board's and the administrative team's #1 priority. We take this responsibility very seriously. We continuously review our programs and protocols to make sure they reflect best practices and respond to new challenges. When we identify opportunities to strengthen our protective measures, we act. The projects included in this referendum come directly from that ongoing evaluation. They represent our next step in keeping our students and staff and visitors safe. Before I get into the referendum projects, I want to take a few moments to talk about what we already have in place regarding safety and security. We have really strong foundation of safety practices and partnerships. At 3 of our schools, all visitors must stop at the main entrance and identify themselves, state their purpose, and present credentials before entering the building. At the high school, we have an added layer of protection through a secure vestibule, or as Mr. Duthie refers to, a man trap, a space that allows for screening before anyone gains access to the rest of the building. Each of our schools also has a school resource officer on site, and we have 1 additional officer in the district who can move between buildings as needed. We maintain a very close collaboration with Glassboro Police, the Office of Emergency Management for the county prosecutor's office, as well as our local fire and police departments. Together with all these first responders, we conduct joint trainings to test and refine our response protocols, ensuring that everyone knows their role if an emergency were ever to occur. We also are one of the districts, all the districts, in fact, in Gloucester County, implement the standard response protocol, which was developed by the I Love You Guys Foundation. Again, this is the same approach consistently used at all county schools and used by all county first responders, which means there's consistency, a common language when schools and first responders are working together on an emergency. That alignment helps ensure that communication is clear and response times are as fast as possible when it matters most. We're also proud to be the pilot district at no cost to us for the integration of Zero Eyes and Single Wire, which are 2 very powerful security platforms we have in place in Glassboro. Zero Eyes uses AI to detect visible firearms on camera feeds, and Single Wire is our emergency alert system capable of sending immediate notifications to staff and first responders in the event of an emergency. By integrating these 2 systems, we create a critical advantage. First responders are alerted and can be on the scene faster than before. Our building occupants can get into a secure position more quickly. And as we know, in an emergency situation, every second matters. This partnership places Glassboro at the forefront of school safety innovation. Now, looking ahead, the referendum would allow us to add 3 important new layers of protection. Security vestibules at Rodgers, Bullock, and Bow, just like the security vestibule we have at the high school. Now, vestibule, again, as Mr. Duthie elaborated upon, is a secure entry area at the school's main entrance. Think of it as an airlock or a man trap. Visitors are held in the vestibule and screened through a check-in window before gaining entry. Staff can then greet and escort approved visitors, keeping hallways and learning spaces secure. These vestibules have become the new standard in school security, and this referendum would ensure that all our schools, not just the high school, meet the standard. We also are adding security glazing at GHS and the Transportation Department if the referendum is successful. Security glazing is a protective layer applied to glass surfaces. It resists breakage or holds shattered glass together, making it harder for an intruder to gain access to a space. That extra delay gives staff and students more time to follow safety protocols, and it gives first responders more time to arrive and respond. Again, every second matters in these situations. The public address system upgrades at JHR and at Duthie Bullock are much needed. A reliable PA system is vital in an emergency. It ensures that we can communicate quickly and clearly with staff and students, whether they're in a classroom, the cafeteria, the gym. Some of those spaces can get quite noisy at different times of the day. And the newer system, in addition to being upgraded audio, would provide visual alerts, which means messages reach everyone even in those loud and visually busy spaces. So in Glassboro, we already have a very strong foundation in safety and security, but we're committed to strengthening them even further. The referendum projects, the security vestibules, the security glazing, and the upgraded communication systems would add critical new layers of protection. When combined with our existing partnerships, training, and cutting-edge technology, these enhancements ensure that our schools remain among the safest learning environments possible for our students and staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention my predecessor, Dr. Mark Silverstein, and say, we've talked about our academies with Rowan, we've talked about the integration of single wire and zero eyes, and our reputation for fiscal responsibility. During my transition with Dr. Silverstein, as he left the superintendency and I became his predecessor or his protege, I asked him what he wanted me to protect out of his legacy, and all three of those things were things that he named. So we thank Dr. Silverstein for leading these projects and beginning them, and we're happy to be continuing on as we enter the 25-26 school year. So thank you again, Craig. Before we get to questions, I want to share some important info on voting. Every ballot counts in a bond referendum. The election can be decided by a single vote. There are 3 ways to vote in this school district's referendum. A voter who previously applied for mail-in voting for all elections should have already received a ballot. There's still time if you'd like to apply for a mail-in ballot, and those details can be found on our website. The second way to vote is the traditional in-person method on Election Day, November 4th. The third way is early voting, which starts on Saturday, October 25th. Gloucester County offers 9 different early voting days at 5 different locations throughout the county. If you're voting on November 4th, you'll head to your regular polling place. The polls are open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Again, voting information is all available at our website, www.gpsd.us/vote. Now I'd like to open the floor for questions. Again, you can email or type your question into the chat feature on Zoom, and you can do this by clicking the chat icon at the bottom of your screen. A common question is, what if enrollment for the preschool program increases? Would that cause our taxes to increase again? Melanie, I know you mentioned this briefly, but would you like to explain it again in further detail?
Yes. So because a lot of misconception actually is that we'll need to expand our kindergarten program as well. So it's a little bit twofold. So because we service both 3 and 4-year-olds, and we service a little bit more 4-year-olds than we do 3-year-olds, just because we want to make sure we get them in. So I think our 4-year-old population, we're about 64%, and we're in the 30s for our 3-year-olds. So when they get moved to kindergarten, we are currently servicing every kindergartner that we should be able to service. So we don't need to expand anything within our kindergarten programming, but specifically within the preschool programming, all of our funds that we get from the state will cover the cost of our preschool teacher. Every classroom has a paraprofessional in it as well. It will cover the cost and salary of that individual. It also covers the cost for the materials, the supplies, all of the furniture in the classroom. So none of that comes from the taxpayer dollars as well. And, knowing that each classroom can only have up to 15 students, we do get funding for every single one of those students, except for our special education students, which currently we are servicing all of the special education students in Glassboro that should be receiving special education services. So we're in a little bit of a different situation this year where we're running out of special education spots. So having more classrooms and being able to divide those students out into more classrooms would hopefully also not allow us to be in a position where we have to look to move some of our special education students into a different and partner with a different district as well.
Thank you, Melanie. The other piece of that, folks, is we know based on our research and Melanie and her staff's data analysis that students who enter our pre-K program at age 3 do significantly better in kindergarten than students who have not engaged with our preschool program. So the more students and the more of the community's children that we can bring into our fold immediately, the better off we are for our elementary education program.
Dr. Lewis, can I just jump in there as well? I'm glad that you actually mentioned that, because what we find is that if we have on average 150 kindergarten students, 75 of our students are part of our preschool program. The other 75 are coming into kindergarten for the first time, typically not being a part of a preschool program previously. So knowing that, again, just like you said, that we get them at 3 years old, we get them at 4 years old. And I can show with our test scores in kindergarten, our students that are part of our preschool program do outperform the students who were not part of our preschool program. So just knowing that, just being able to reach the whole child, not just about academics too, right? That's why we are a National School of Character, is that we focus so highly on making sure that we do reach the whole child, in order for them, when they do go to Bullock, they are ready then to learn, as opposed to trying to navigate how to be in school, sit for a period of time, make friends, how to share with others. So it is very important.
Thank you for that. We couldn't be prouder of Rodgers School or Bullock School. Our elementary program is thriving, and we're looking forward to seeing it continue to grow through this bond referendum. Another common question that we hear is, what happens if the referendum does not pass? Some of the projects just simply can't wait. And I wish I had a flashier answer than that, folks, but some of these things must be done. Leaking roofs must be addressed, and that means that we'll have to find money in our budget without adding a burden to the taxpayer. And that does unfortunately mean that we would have to reallocate money from one area to our operational costs. This isn't something that we like to do, and it's not something that we think is the best use of our tax dollars, which is why we're offering it to the community for their choice. Voter approval gives us the added benefit of using state aid to help cover a portion of these costs. Without the bond passing, those costs get passed directly back to the taxpayer. District's operating budget, which is about $45 million per year, and this is a $25 million bond, just simply doesn't have enough wiggle room to cover the bare necessities plus the improvements at the pace that our district needs them. Here's what residents can expect if voters don't approve the referendum. Like I said, we won't receive that $4.7 million in state aid. Taxpayers will pay the full $24.7 million. Projects will be done in stages, with total project costs coming from the annual budget when funds are available. There will be piecemeal repairs, which could cause higher costs in the long run. Funds could be diverted away from educational programs and or other areas to support more pressing facility needs. And aging, obsolete HVAC systems and leaky roofing will persist. And we know in the end, these projects are necessary to keep the students and staff safe, comfortable, and able to focus on teaching and learning. And that's why we're proposing this bond referendum to the community. Are there any other questions at this time, either through email or chat? You can send them to us, and we're going to wait maybe a minute and a half. And without any other further questions, we will enter our conclusion section and wrap this up. And while I give you folks about a minute to respond, send questions in via chat or email, I did want to say thank you to the Bond Referendum Committee. Again, this bond referendum began under the leadership of Dr. Mark Silverstein and a large committee, including our architects and our other experts, who made a deep analysis of all of the repairs that could be needed, all of the maintenance items that could be included, and all of the projects that would help drive us into the future. They whittled it down from a much larger set of projects into a much more cost-conscious set of projects that you see before you today. And we're really excited for the future for our district. And I'm really grateful to the committee for being not only future forward and thinking of what students might need in future years, but also very conscious of the taxpayer and their capacity for tax increases. I will say one last common question that we get, since it looks like we don't have any more questions, is that we sold the intermediate school in 2022, and why does the district need more space now? Selling the intermediate school was the right choice at that time. That's a decision, as I said this past week to the Camelot Retirement Development, that's the same decision I would have made in 2022. The district's enrollment was much lower with no reasonable prediction that it would grow to the amount that it is today. And likewise, the funding that was needed annually to not only maintain the intermediate school, but also to just keep it from simply becoming a site that would be hazardous to the community or a burden to the community financially or environmentally. It required a sale. And we were lucky to find a partner in Rowan University to purchase the building. They were able to put in the funds that kept it in good enough repair for them to begin renovating it. And it's my understanding we'll be using it soon. All of the dollars that were generated by that sale, roughly $3.4 million, every penny was sent to Bow School, and it was used to renovate the Bow Elementary School to become what is now the Bow Middle School. Even with that $3.4 million of investment from the sale of GIS, we are in need of additional monies. As you saw, the Joseph Brigandy Senior Gymnasium at Bow Middle School is in need of significant renovations that are befitting both our exemplary middle school programs and, of course, the legendary Brigandy name that the gymnasium bears. Even if we were to have renovated it again to use as preschool site, it would have been more than the bond referendum before you today, just for the intermediate school. So we believe that the work that was done previously by this committee and by the prior superintendent is what is needed for the school district, and it will help fund us as we engage in these projects and bring us into our next era of excellence for Glassboro. That being said, seeing no additional questions, I'd like to thank you for attending. And I'd like to thank all of our district leaders and consultants who are on our panel tonight. We appreciate your explanations and your participation. And thanks to our community members who joined us to learn about the November 4th bond referendum. These 3 questions will appear on the general election ballot when you head to your polling place on November 4th. The decision is critical to the future of our schools and the entire borough. Please stay updated and remember to vote. I hope you have a wonderful evening. Thank you for joining us.